Welcome everybody to my channel. My name is Rainer. I'm a native German-speaking booktuber in Sweden, talking about books mostly in English, and today I'm here to do the G tag. The alphabet tags are created by Jim at Jim's Books, Reading and Stuff. And I have come to the letter G today, so let's get started. G is for the Great American Novel. What do you consider the Great American Novel? If you have seen the A tag, me doing the A tag and Jim's original A tag, you know that the Great American Novel was also a part of that tag. It's again here because Jim says that he's got so many nice and beautiful answers that he wants to hear more about the Great American Novel. So, this can be further broken down, he said, to the 19th century, the 20th century, and the 21st century. Right, we had that prompt before, and when I did the A tag, remember, if you've seen that, I voted for Vanessa Veselka's The Great Offshore Grounds that was published last year, that I read last year in a buddy read with Paula from Draw Your Book. And we also talked to Vanessa Veselka, had a great author talk with her. Another book that I've mentioned was The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn by Samuel Clemens, aka Mark Twain. So, even in my native Germany, I can say that critics and scholars, literary scholars, are always looking for the great German novel. The novel that describes, like, for example, the period of the fall of the wall in 1989 and the reunification of Germany, who has captured that the best, and they're always waiting for that great German novel to come. I think it's very, very difficult in a diverse country like the United States, in such a diverse country, both geographically and ethnically, to talk about something like the great American novel, because what would that be? Would that be a sort of generational story from Texas or from New York? Would it be about people from all ethnicities? That means Native Americans, white Americans and black Americans, and even Latinx people? Or is it just the chronicle of one of these groups? That's so difficult to say. So what is the great American novel actually? What would be the definition that captures the heart and the soul of what is going on in America right now, or at the point that the novel was written? Surely another great American novel that I have to confess I haven't read yet is certainly, I've been told, Moby Dick by Herman Melville. I just read a short story by Melville when I studied. Bartleby the Scrivener reminded me a lot of the theoretical writings of Henry David Thoreau and Ralph Waldo Emerson. But back to the 20th century great American novel. If we have Melville and Moby Dick for the 19th century, authors like William Faulkner, like Ernest Hemingway come to my mind. Books like Sanctuary, For Whom the Bell Tolls, The Grapes of Wrath by John Steinbeck, The Catcher in the Rye by Salinger, Beloved by Toni Morrison. With the exception of Salinger, all of these authors that I mentioned, Steinbeck, Faulkner, Hemingway and Morrison, won the Nobel Prize in Literature here in Stockholm, Sweden. The 21st century, 20 and a half years, the first 20 and a half years of this young new century, Jonathan Franzen's novel The Corrections is always being named as a candidate, or maybe also Colson Whitehead's The Underground Railroad. Or if you want a story of Native Americans as a great American novel, why not mentioning Tommy Orange's novel There There? So there's a lot to mention here. And the discussion can go on and reappear in another letter, maybe, with another letter of the alphabet. Maybe with N like novel. G is for many countries like Guatemala, Guyana, Grenada, Greece, Greenland, Germany, Gabon, Guinea-Bissau, Guinea-Conakry and Georgia, and the country that Jim actually forgot was the Gambia, which is always mentioned with the article, the Gambia. What was the last book you read by an author from a country beginning with G? And thanks God this is easy, because I am a German booktuber. I come from Germany. And Germany has, of course, many authors that I can read because I know the language. And so the last author from a country starting with G in English was Tamara Bach. Actually, my friend Tamara Bach and her young adult novel Sankt Irgendwas that I've mentioned before in one of my weekly wrap-ups. G is for Georgia, for the country Georgia, but also for the state of Georgia. Have you read any books by Georgian authors or about Georgia? So if you mean the country Georgia, then I have to say no, I'm afraid not. My memories of Georgian culture are very vivid, and I remember going to beautiful restaurants. I have a lot of cuisine experience from this country. I went to a beautiful Georgian restaurant in Moscow some 20 years ago, somewhere in the center of Moscow. It was beautiful. I remember a Georgian restaurant in Siberia and another one in Munich. So I like the kitchen a lot that I experienced there. And but that's all I can say about the culture, the food culture. And then, of course, one more thing from Georgia is that I used to attend the European Day of Language celebrations here in Stockholm, which are around the 26th of September. And I was working there, and there were several countries being represented, and all of our countries are trying to motivate students and young people to study more languages. So we were there doing some advertisements for German, but also the Georgian embassy was there. And I remember 2 consecutive years where the Georgian embassy was there with someone who's working there, brought her children with her, and these children tried twice in 2 years to teach me to count from 1 to 10 in Georgian. Ati, ori, sami, otki, kuti, eksri, shridi, ra, shkra, ati. Something like that. But I have to admit, I forgot this after a few weeks, and a year later I had to learn it again from scratch. Good. G is for Gone with the Wind, set in the US state of Georgia. Have you read Gone with the Wind, and if so, what did you think of it? Nope. Never ever have I read Gone with the Wind by Margaret Mitchell. I have seen only a few parts of the movie, but it never interested me neither, watching the whole movie or reading the book. And maybe that's because I hate Clark Gable, and I also don't want to read the story of slave owners in the 19th century. That's what I have some problems with that narrative, probably. G is for genre. Is there a book genre you would avoid? Yes, I avoid a lot of genres. I avoid romance, I avoid science fiction, I avoid a lot of historical fiction, I avoid fantasy. That being said, I respect all the authors and all the readers who do these genres, who read these genres, and but it's not just for me. G is for Goodreads. If you use Goodreads, what are your statistics like? I use Goodreads. Yes, I do. And according to Goodreads, I have read 220 books, which is a low estimate. I have read much more, but I haven't worked hard on sort of typing all the books into Goodreads. Maybe I will work a little bit more on that. I don't know. So we'll see. I have 413 books there, actually 413 books that I want to read. And among them, some of those I want to read books are actually DNFs, because that's what I miss at Goodreads, is that they don't have a possibility to do DNFs, to do statistics for DNFs. So DNFs usually happen when I want to read this book, then I start reading it and I mark it as currently reading, and then I realize, no, I DNF it, and then I can't put it on a DNF shelf. So please, Goodreads, if you listen to this, Jeff Bezos, if you're not going to space, if you're back on Earth, please do a DNF shelf on Goodreads. That would be great. I have written 120 reviews, and mostly I think I give between 3 or 4 stars for most of the books. Many things begin with G. Girl Detective, God, Gardening, Guns, Green, Graham Greene, Garbage Guides, etc. You may, if you wish, add a prompt or two related to books and something or someone beginning with G. So the only one that I came up with is what was the last book you've read by an author whose last name starts with G. And that was last year when I read Michelle Good's novel Five Little Indians, that was longlisted for the Scotiabank Giller Prize in Canada, about 5 native First Nation Canadians who have survived the residential schools, a topic, residential schools, that is very, very hot this year, where lots of bodies have been found in Canada. A great issue. That was the G tag, and I will do more tags. I've been tagged, I'm happy about that. I will do this tag soon, and I also will do my booker list, which probably has to be done tomorrow, because next week on Wednesday, I think the official booker list will be published, or is it Friday? Anyway, I will do this. Thanks very much for watching this video, and I wish you a great Saturday evening, wherever you are. Be careful, wear a mask if you are in situations where you can't keep the distance, and I see you soon. Bye.